Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Investigamer, and today I'd like to officially bring back my old vlog format. You guys remember that, right? Discussionary topic, talk about some news stories of the week, and then pose a question to the audience. Let's get cracking. Today I'd like to discuss SOMA's narrative and some of the things you guys have been saying about it since I dropped my review just a few days ago. If you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend it before watching this. And if you haven't played the game, I highly recommend playing it before watching this. There is going to be heavy spoilers, so be aware of that. Either be ready to be spoiled, or have already played the game. Anyways, if you've seen my review, you already know how amazing I personally think the story is and how I picked apart the narrative piece by piece. I tried to see every note. I tried to find every audio log. I even went online and tried to find information about the game and about the story at large, but unfortunately there is not a huge community talking about SOMA's story. There's a wiki, or a wikia, I guess is what it's called. And it has some pages, it has a few characters here and there, a few locations here and there, but it by no means covers everything that I want to learn. So I've been going back through the game. I finished it twice already. I'm on my third run now, and it is just so fucking interesting. I've never seen a game employ some of these ideas that it has. In fact, I've never even seen movies, in some cases, that employ some of these ideas that are expressed in the game. Yeah, quite a few. I mean, the whole downloaded consciousness thing, it has been done before, but there's quite a few things that I would really consider unique in this game. In any case, the thing I'd like to focus on first and foremost is the WoW, which is the central antagonist to the game, and as I said in my review, he doesn't really get... it's not really a he, but the central antagonist does not get that much intrigue in the game. It doesn't get discussed that often. It's barely mentioned in the dialogue maybe 3 or 4 times, and then there's probably 4 or 5 rooms that really severely touch on it. One room especially near the end, there's logs from this guy who was studying the WoW. WoW, by the way, it means Warden Unit. It's the central intelligence for the Pathos 2 research facility underwater, and anyways, this guy's room is riddled with shit talking about the WoW. He's got he's got some recordings about his experiments with the WoW. He was figuring things out about it. He found out that shortly after the comet hit, I believe, it went into overdrive, basically. It started doing some weird-ass shit. And then when people started killing themselves on Pathos 2, after they got downloaded into the Ark, and they wanted to kill themselves because they figured I could never truly, fully be on the Ark if I don't kill my human body. In any case, when they started dying off, the Ark went into, started freaking the fuck out, because the Ark's main... Not the Ark, the WoW. The WoW's main protocol was to keep human life sustained in Pathos 2, to keep all the humans on board alive. And when the humans of the Earth died off, that was some serious shit to it. It was like, that's a problem. And then whenever people on Pathos 2, the last remaining human survivors in the world, started killing themselves, it's like, oh shit. Well, these humans don't know what the fuck they're doing, so it started doing some really crazy shit. Throughout the game, you find corpses who are barely alive and are kept breathing by apparatus, just machinery, black machinery, that, like, actual artificial lungs on the wall at one point I saw that's hooked up to this lady, and she's artificially breathing and staying alive because of the WoW. And there are bodies littered throughout this place just like that in the same circumstance. And similarly, it's explained that the WoW downloaded the consciousness of several employees and put them into robots to keep them alive further. So now he's got the ones that already died put into robots, and he's got the ones that are half dead staying alive on fake life support. Barely even conscious, not even real humans at that point. And the game really pulls on a lot of threads on what kind of person do you have to be considered a conscious being, an actual human? At what point do you become inhuman? Is downloading a person's brain and putting it in a machine, is that still human? Is that still a being? If they're just barely being kept alive to breathe and they sit back and do nothing else, is that still a being? Or is their life worth anything? Can I pull the plug? It explores a lot of ideas like this, and That's interesting. That is truly interesting. And the way it does it is through a psychological element. This game is primarily scary when there are no enemies around. That's just how it is. Some of the imagery that you see on the people's computers and you see on the walls and you learn about the WoW and what it's doing to this station, and also the fact that all the humans on the outside are extinct and I'm at the fucking bottom of the ocean by myself with these insane robots and fucking anglerfish. That part still pisses me off because it scared the Jesus out of me. I just loved the story. I really did. And if you guys have anything to add about it that I may not know, please comment it down below. I'd like to know any information that you guys were able to find out that may not be mainstream, may not be total knowledge, because I'm trying to figure out anything I can about this game. I already figured it out for one instance, for one example. There was a character on one of the bases in Pathos 2, in one of the stations, who actually believed the WoW was good and went crazy, and I believe he even murdered his own teammates because of the WoW. And there's actual discussion going on Reddit between people who've played the game where some people actually think that the WoW is the protagonist. They think that it is helping humanity, that it is saving humanity, and that it's doing the best it can, and eventually it would have taken all these humans that are barely living and put them into android bodies similar to humans. And that it's not terrible, that if it was allowed to evolve further, it would have done humanity some great good. There's some argument to be made there. I mean, it never outright kills a human unless it absolutely has to. And there's a couple other arguments to be made on that front. I would just search that up if I were you. Just Google WoW protagonist Reddit or something, and it'll probably come up. In any case, that's all I'd like to talk about in terms of the WoW, but let me move on to some of the things you guys were saying about the game so I can address those points. First of all, the monsters. One thing that I kept hearing over and over and over again was an issue that actually had two sides of the same coin. Some people were saying that the monsters are too hard to hide from, and then other people were saying that they were too easy to hide from. I tend to agree with the latter. Honestly, once I had played the game once, I could easily get past pretty much every enemy in the game. I mean, the first enemy, all you have to do is not look at it. That's it. If you don't look at it, it can't attack you. Simply that. It cannot attack you unless you have direct eye contact. That's the main point of that enemy. And the other enemies, it's a simple fact of throwing a heavy object, and then it goes towards the object and you walk past it. In a lot of cases, they don't have a good sight of vision, so you can just crawl past them anyway. I know you don't have a chest to go into or a closet to go into like in Outlast, but I really don't think that feature was necessary. You get plenty of room to move around, plenty of rooms to go in and out of that like loop around to each other and everything. It's usually a pretty open area. You get multiple rooms to choose from, and you can explore each one individually, and you can kind of wait for the other guy to pass by. And you know when they're nearby because the screen starts going So I don't really think they were difficult at all. I don't know. When I first started playing, yeah, I could see where you're coming from. But after playing it for an hour or two, you really get the hang of it, and it's not a big deal after that. They are a little easy, though, so I can understand that criticism. Once you played the game once, you can just blast through it. But then again, that is also a positive aspect, because the first time I was just so damn scared of them, I didn't figure out that they were easy. I didn't want to figure that out. I was really immersed and into the adventure, so I was fooled into thinking they were worse than they were. And then the second time, figuring out that they actually weren't that hard to deal with made it a lot funner to just go through and try to pick up as much information about the game as I could. So, I don't know. I think that's a good thing. The second point I wanted to discuss is the mechanics. A lot of people were saying, hey, you could add mechanics to this game and make it a lot better. You could give the player the option to attack enemies. You could add hideaways, places to go and hide and peek through the hole and see if the monster's still there. Oh, is he still there? I don't know. And, a mini-map. Some people recommended a mini-map. At the end of the day, I agree with you guys that this stuff could probably work and it probably wouldn't change the game in any negative way, but I really don't think it would help the game either. In the end, this game is a fantastic fucking storytelling medium. That is its primary focus, is telling a story, making you question things, making you raise important questions, making you scan your environment for information and pool the story and the narrative from multiple layers and learn what's going on through the gameplay. It's not just a bunch of info fucking dumps. You have to go out and explore yourself to figure it out. And it pieces together in such a way that it's incredibly deep. It really does have vast depth to it. It has so much lore that's built into the game and so many things that click. If you get the information just right, if you find certain pieces of information after you found other information several levels back, it'll click. You'll figure something out and you'll be like, whoa, I figured that out myself. Holy shit, I'm a genius. I mean, I'm not really a genius, but giving the player the option, giving the player the power to figure this shit out makes a game more rewarding, doesn't it? I really think it does. And being able to crack a chair over an enemy's head who can easily be avoided, and being able to hide in a locker when they can be easily avoided, and having a mini-map when you should be figuring this shit out yourself because that's part of the reward process, all that stuff seems superfluous to me. I'm sorry, guys, but I really don't think any of that stuff would help. I think it did a fantastic job telling the story the way it is. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Who knows? The third topic. Some people were saying there's not enough monsters. There's not enough serious scares. Serious scares. As in, a guy jumps out at you and goes, oh, and there's creepy shambling things that you look at from a distance and try not to get close to, and, shit like that. I love the monsters as much as the next guy. They're really interesting. They really are. I like avoiding them. They creep me out. They make creepy-ass sounds, and they make my screen go lit, lit, lit. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, this game is scarier when the monsters aren't around. That's just how I felt. The psychological element to it was so unique for a game. Most games, they rely on that shit where the thing jumps out at you and makes a bunch of noise, and you get scared out of your mind for like 3 seconds. This game scared me and disturbed me to my core for several days after I finished it. That's the type of horror game that I like. Psychological horror, the type of horror that tends to just lodge itself into your brain and stick there for a while and make you really think about what the hell I just saw, and makes you think, could this happen in my lifetime, in my society? It could. It's a scary prospect, That's what I was looking for in this game, and I honestly found it. I don't think adding more monsters or more scares or more triggering events would make the game any better. I truly felt as though the horror was densely covered just using the atmosphere and the notes that you find and the pictures that you see and the shit you see on the walls and the creepy-ass breathing humans that are barely kept alive and the animatronic robots that have human consciousness in them that don't want to die, and when you pull the plug they go, that shit is more scary to me than a monster making googly faces. I'm sure that a literal truckload of my subscribers are already pissing their pants with anticipation over Fallout 4. But did you know that in addition to the game, you can also pre-order the DLC? Yeah, the season pass for the DLC is already available for pre-order before the game is even out. As if to say, it'll be great, so just give us your goddamn money already. I know that Bethesda makes great games. I know this game is going to be great before it even comes out. That's a given. It's fucking Bethesda. They've never released a bad game in this vein, in the Fallout and the Elder Scrolls vein. But at the same time, as a principle, you shouldn't do this. Just assuming that the developer is going to come through with this one and putting the money down for a product you don't know anything about yet, you haven't quality tested yet, the reviews aren't in for yet. Asking people to do that, I think, is ridiculous. Especially for a DLC. I can understand the game. If you're a huge fan of the game series, then yeah, a lot of people are going to pre-order anyway. But the DLC? At least wait for the game to come out and for people to judge the game on its merits before you order the DLC. If the game comes out and the game's good, that makes sense to let them pre-order the DLC, 6 months before the DLC comes out. But before the game even comes out? The dudes behind Humble Bundle, one of my favorite inventions mankind has ever devised, have now launched another service called Humble Monthly. For just $12 a month, you can receive a monthly curated bundle of quality Steam games. In fact, if you sign up right now, you'll get a free copy of Legend of Grimrock 2. I didn't even know Legend of Grimrock 2 was out. I didn't even know there was a sequel to Legend of Grimrock. I guess that just shows how out of the loop I am. Maybe I should do a spotlight of that one too. Our final news is about virtual reality headsets. A Valve designer speaking about the new Vive headset has concluded publicly that modern VR technology is not making people sick. Instead, it is the developers' design choices within the VR games that make people sick. This makes a lot of sense to me. And even though I haven't gotten on the VR bandwagon yet, haven't even tested one of these things, not even the Oculus yet, sadly, I'd really like to, I gotta agree with this notion, because it makes sense. If you think about it, there's one leading factor to what might be making people sick that comes to the top of your head if you've played any PC games. Field of view. It can make people sick without even having a headset. If you just don't have the option set right and you're sitting too close to the monitor, you can get motion sickness and tunnel vision from field of view problems, from having a tight field of view when the screen is right here. So a screen being right here, yeah, I can see that happening. I can totally see that happening. If, I'm not making any promises here, if I were to get an Oculus Rift or some other VR headset, what games would you like me to review in virtual reality? What games would you like to play in virtual reality? I can think of one game that I would totally play in virtual reality. Yeah, it's SOMA. You guessed it, it's SOMA. But, it'd probably give me a heart attack, but just the ability to play one of the most psychologically thrilling games on one of the most psychologically dependent forms of gaming, virtual reality, that could make for some really scary circumstances. That'd probably make me shit my pants. I'm not gonna lie. Probably make me shit my pants. Please drop your answer to today's question in the comment section down below, and I will get to it as quickly as possible. Or you could submit a question for next week's vlog. That'd also be cool. I'm the Investigamer. Never trust the crowd, only the investigation. See you later, guys.